Hi, Michelle here from Your Productivity Pulse. Several months ago, I had the crazy idea to start my own podcast, and I had an opportunity to attend Kim's free workshop on how to build a podcast, what you need to do, and some different ideas that you could just to get started. Well, after that, it really sparked some ideas for me, so I reached out to her and booked a one-to-one appointment just to have a conversation about whether or not it was going to be the right thing for me to start building a podcast. Well, after that 1 hour, I knew that it wasn't just the right thing, but it was what I needed to do like right then. So we talked it over, and from there, I booked in the next part of her program, which was a 14-day intensive where she was helping me through step by step everything that I needed to do to get my podcast up and running. It was an amazing process, and I can't say enough about everything that she did to help me through, from tech challenges to reviewing content to giving me the encouragement when I needed to. I thank you so much, Kim, and I'm so excited to see what's going to happen next with my podcast and yours. Thanks so much, Kim.
Someone just told you that they left you a 5-star review, and you're saying, where? Where is that review? And you're on a search. You are looking around to see, where is that review? Can I respond to the review? How do I capture a picture of that review for some social media proof? Where will I find that? And how did they leave it? Today, I am going to go over reviews for your podcast. My name is Kim Parkinson. You're listening to Podcasting for Your Spiritual Business. And today's topic came from one of my clients, Michelle. Michelle has her very own podcast, Your Productivity Pulse, where time management meets real life. Michelle's podcast exists to help you use time with intention, energy, and a spark of joy. And let me tell you, I absolutely love listening to her episodes every week. They are short, to the point, and man, do they give you some insights on productivity and how to like actually move the needle on that. So I love listening to that. If you have not listened, I encourage you. She does have a case study that is coming out within the next month or so. So you'll get to meet Michelle if you haven't gone and listened to Your Productivity Pulse before then. But she was wondering about reviews. So she left me a review and she said, Kim, I left your review. And when I did, I was the only review. And I was shocked because you've got such a great podcast. I want to know, how come I'm the only one that's left a review? How can more people leave reviews? How can we get this to be something that people do? And you know what? Thank you, Michelle, for the topic. And also, I did some research because I do have other reviews. I actually have quite a few reviews, which I love. And if you haven't left a review and you'd like to, please do. There's one way you could actually get more reviews, just by asking, right? But I only have one review in her country, and that's why she can only see her review. So they are countrywide in Apple Podcast specifically, right? So she left me a review in Apple Podcasts. She's in Canada. And so when she went there, she's obviously logged into the Apple Podcast of Canada. And so all she sees is her own review. But in the United States, I have several other reviews. And here's the thing. Then I was like, I wonder if I have reviews in other countries, because I seem to be in the top 100 of my category often in Saudi Arabia and Tanzania and Belgium, sometimes other countries out there. So if you're listening in from those countries, thank you. Please leave me a review so I can see those, so that I can then kind of give that more knowledge to my clients, to you guys, about how those reviews work from other countries, because I would not have actually known that they were country based. The reviews were country based via Apple, if it was not for Michelle mentioning that, right? I would have just been like, oh yeah, you get reviews and they pop up. But no, it is country. Like, I can see it when I log in. I can see that I have multiple in different countries, but other people in other countries can't see them. Interesting, right? But that also then led me down a path of like, one, How do we get more reviews? And again, the best and easiest way to get more reviews is ask. Ask within an episode, as I did here. Say something like, if you really love this conversation, I would love it if you would just stop right now and leave me a review. And if you take a screenshot of that review, send me that, and maybe we'll have some type of a call or a conversation. You could absolutely do something like that, right? People love that. People love to be able to. I've actually had launch clients before where they've had people take a picture of their review, and then they have given away things, like they've given away packages or Amazon gift cards and things like that. Like, there have been launches where people have done that. It's pretty cool, pretty neat little thing to do. Here's the thing about reviews that I want you to know. Reviews are kind of for you, for your expertise, for your social proof and all of that, but they're also for the listener to see and say, you know what? I see people have been really liking this, and I want to go listen to it some more. Now, not everybody's going to pay attention to the review, right? What I have noticed is that people that leave reviews are much nicer than Yelp people. If you've ever seen a review for like your favorite restaurant, and people are leaving that 1 star because that one waitress in 1996 had, a bad experience or whatever. And so they left the terrible Yelp review. Yeah. But that very rarely happens in the podcasting industry. And so thankfully, most often people leave a good review, or at least good stars, right? Good stars. That is achieved basically by asking. And then the other way is just by happenstance. Like, I didn't ask and Michelle did it. And it just was, very fortunate. Also brought us to this right here. So she asked, I delivered. So, hey, if you have a topic that you would like me to explore more on in regards to podcasting, just send me a message and I'll explore it and make it into an episode, because I love to deliver what you guys need. And so if this is what you're looking for, I'm here for it. What will reviews give me? What will reviews do for me, right? If you have a lot of reviews in a very short time frame, and we're talking like maybe like 72 hours, and I can't exactly give you that time frame because everything's secret over there at Apple. But I'm going to say 72 hours because that's like 3 days, right? So within 72 hours, if you get a boatload of reviews, what will happen is Apple will take notice and actually push your podcast up in the category based on reviews. So if you have, say, in your category, every category is different as to how many numbers of podcasts that are active on there. And so if you have a podcast that's getting a lot of downloads, which you can't leave a review unless you get download. So there's that. If your podcast is getting a lot of follows, again, that doesn't have to happen if you get a download, but it's nice if they follow, they click the follow button or the subscribe button. Everybody's got something different. So, and then it's also one of those things where then if people are leaving reviews, then they start climbing the ladder, climbing the category ladder. And so what ends up happening is the higher up in the ladder, the more that you become part of the top 250. Now, podcast stats or podcast categories are only like the very bottom benchmark is the top 250 within a country. Every country gets their own. So I have a client, she only wants to be the top 250 in the United States, but she is repetitively top 250 or sometimes top 100 in other countries. But she's really looking for the United States. And for me, I already know that I have been repetitively over the last month and a half, top 100, 150 in Saudi Arabia and Tanzania and Belgium. And thank you. Thank you for listening. I love that. And if that is you, I would love for you to leave a review, because then you'll be the first review in your country. Because I think I only have Michelle's review in Canada and then a bunch of others in the United States. If you get those 3 things, so downloads and you get the people to follow and you get the reviews, it will kind of bump you up into the categories. And so if you're looking to be a top 100 podcast in your category, that's a great way to do that. What else is other factors such as like longevity? If you are consistent, put out podcast episodes every week, those will also bump it up as well. They take a lot of things into consideration. And again, their formula is not public. So we just kind of have to go by, taking a look to see if we are part of those charts. I get my charts emailed to me daily by two different places. So I use Pod Status, and I pay for that to send me the podcast reviews and the charts. Another company that I use is Maupod. Now I'm testing out Maupod, had a really nice conversation with the people at Maupod. That's going to be another conversation later on in the podcast basics in regards to Maupod and how that works. But what I did notice is that it sends me an email every day and tells me if I've gone up and down in one category. It doesn't tell me multiple, just one category in one country. I don't know if it will do others, but right now it's just done the one, which is fine. It's a good way to at least be aware. Now, Maupod is free for that particular service, whereas Pod Status I do pay for, but I get a little bit more from Pod Status as far as I'm able to drill in a little bit deeper than I am with Maupod. So a couple of different places there. The other thing is, where can people leave reviews? And this brought me down a large rabbit hole. Let me just tell you that. So first and foremost, the number one benchmark place is Apple, right? Apple Podcasts. Everybody knows this. Here's the thing about Apple. Apple will allow you to get a rating, and it will allow you to have a written review, show level only. So you can't like drill down to one specific episode. And it requires an Apple ID, and it then also one review per show. You can't have multiple reviews from the same person. And it's also done on the show page on your phone only. I do have another client, and she said, I tried to leave you an Apple Podcast review, and I could not figure out how on my computer how to leave a review. And I said, you know what? You can't. You cannot do that from your computer. You have to do it from the app, which is such a bummer. So I think you can if you had the iTunes app downloaded, but who wants to download the iTunes app? That's like 2003. In this particular case, you need to have Apple Podcasts on your phone. I do think you can download Apple Podcasts now for Android devices and other devices. But, if it's not your number one go-to podcast app, then maybe you don't want to, right? Maybe you're just like, no, I don't want that. And so anybody that you want to leave a review for you on Apple Podcasts can't, right? So where else can they? There's also Spotify. Now, Spotify will leave you a star rating. You have to listen. By the way, you have to listen to a podcast episode for any one of these before you can leave a review. You just can't go and be like, yes, I'm going to review and never listen. The app actually knows and will say, no, you have not listened yet. You must listen. What is a listen defined as? I think it's defined as 30 seconds. So not a lot of time, but let's hope, again, based on those Yelp review people, let's hope that they've listened and they're leaving you good reviews, right? So Spotify allows you to have a star rating, and each episode is allowed to have written comments. Now, if you are English speaking and your podcast English speaking, those comments, as long as they don't have any naughty words in them, will automatically get approved. If you are in a different language and you leave something in a different language, then the owner of said podcast then has to log in and approve that particular comment. Here's the other thing. If you want to be notified about any one of these that I'm mentioning, you must create an account on any of those platforms for them to be notified. Otherwise, you can go to someplace like Pod Status or someplace else, and they may give you those reviews. They may aggregate them. There are a couple of places that will. But in this particular case here, in Spotify, you have to log in and create a Spotify for Creators account in order to claim your show. This is true for everybody that I'm going to talk about. You have to log in, create a free account, log in, claim your show. And then when anybody leaves a review, they will send you an email that says you've just gotten a review. So that's how that happens. On the flip side of that, anybody that wants to leave a review also has to have a free or paid account, and they have to be logged in order to leave a review. So there's both sides. They get you on both ends, right? So Spotify, again, they'll leave a review. If you've never created your Spotify for Creators account, it's pretty easy. There's nothing, you don't have to move your podcast over there or anything. You just basically log in, you claim your account by your RSS feed, and then it will tell you. I think usually it takes a little bit of time for it to like aggregate all of the knowledge so that you have it. Okay. So once you have that, so that's Spotify. So we have Apple, we have Spotify. Another big heavy hitter in my book is Amazon or Audible. They will allow you to leave a rating and a review. But again, you have to have an Amazon account. You know what? I think most people do now. It's show level only, whereas Spotify will do the rating is show level. The 5 stars is show level, but the comments are episode level. Amazon and Audible are just show level. There's also another one out there called Podchaser. Now, I do love Podchaser because it will actually give you up-to-date real time of each category and who is listed in the top 100 of each category. If you have a Podchaser account, and the free one's fine, you can leave a rating and review for an episode or for a show, both show and individual episodes. This is the only one that does both show and individual episode reviews, written reviews, which is nice, right? So it will let you do a rating, but then you can do a written review for the show and you can do a written review for each individual episode. Sweet, right? How would you know? You'd need to have that Podchaser account and create that account and then claim your show. And that's how you do it. All right. There are a couple others out here, right, that I found out about. And I was like, I'm going to look these up because some of them I'd never heard of before. First one that I had heard of is Good Pods. I couldn't sign up. I could not get my login to be created in Good Pods for myself. And I tried multiple times. What I also noticed about Good Pods is my RSS feed stopped working about a month ago. And that doesn't seem right to me, but I can't log in. I can't create a account. And so I can't claim my podcast. And so I can't figure out why the RSS feed isn't working. So I don't know what's going on with Good Pods. I guess I'm going to have to reach out to them privately and see what's going on. But right now, I was not able to give you any information about Good Pods because I just couldn't even create an account. And that's not fun. Next one that I tried is Castbox. Apparently, they do allow comments, no formal star rating, episode level comments, but I did download the app. They really were pushing the paid version, and I couldn't figure out how to claim my podcast. So that isn't helpful because I want to be notified that I got a review. If I can't claim my podcast, how would I know? And then another one that I found was really weird. I've never heard of this one before. This was the very first time I've heard of it. It's called Podyssey, and I have to spell it. It's Podyssey. And apparently you can leave recommendations and reviews if you have a free Podyssey account. When I went there, my podcast wasn't even on Podyssey. And I was like, that is so weird because I have my RSS feed set up to be going out to all the distribution platforms that I can. So I was very confused. Well, when I went online to Podyssey on the computer, I noticed that there's a little button that says, get your podcast onto Podyssey, and you have to click there. And then it opens a Google form so that you have to manually add in everything, and they'll let you know if they're going to add it. So I'm waiting. That was yesterday. Okay, so those are the most common places to leave a review. There are a couple of others. I guess Podbean will let you, but I didn't even search that one. And then Podcast Addict, which is very specific to the Android. They will let you do a rating and a review, show only. You do have to have an account, but this data isn't easily shared back to creators, according to my Google search. That's a bummer. Why would you not want them to be able to share that with others? Because that's what it's all about, right? Honestly, I think the best places to leave a review is Apple, Spotify, Podchaser, or Amazon Audible. Those are the ones that I think people can really like take screenshots of and, using this social media proof. Podchaser and Spotify, the only two places that will allow you to respond to one specific episode instead of just the whole show. So there's that. And then on Spotify specifically, you can actually reply to the person. You can give them like a little heart emoji, or you can actually respond and say thank you. So bottom line here is that if you were given information from somebody that they left you a review, I think the easiest way to do this is say, that is amazing. Do you mind taking a screenshot and sending that over? And I know that's kind of a bother, but if they left a review on a distribution platform that, say, is newer or is just started taking podcast reviews, like Overcast doesn't do reviews, but who knows? Maybe they will start taking reviews next week. I don't know. There are other podcast platforms out there too. There is Pocket Cast and Pocket FM, and there's Podurama. Who knows? Maybe someday they will start taking podcast reviews. And if somebody left your review on there, you would have to manually go and sign up for every single platform in order to know if somebody left you one. It's much easier if you just ask them to leave you a review on Apple or Spotify or your favorite platform of choice. And or if they write you and tell you that they left you one, just ask them. Just say, there's so many distribution platforms out there. Could you just take a picture and send that over to me? I would love that. That'd be so great. And if you, had something to offer to them, maybe you had like a little freebie or a little PDF or something that might, sweeten the pot for them to do that quicker rather than, waiting for them to get onto that. I do think ultimately, in order to get podcast reviews, I do feel like it is something that you do have to ask for. They do say this in YouTube that subscribers usually need to be told, hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button in order for people to actually do that. That is true here in this instance as well. People don't always think about it. They listen. They're like, yes, I loved that. That's amazing. And then they move on. But if you ask them specifically as, say, one of your calls to action, then maybe they'll leave a review. And this call to action doesn't have to be something that I would say you'd have to do on a weekly basis. I think that this is maybe like a once or twice a quarter ask, right? This is just kind of like a, hey, if this episode helped, the kindest thing you can do is leave me a quick rating on your favorite podcast app. And if you've done so, please reach out, let me know you've done that, and send that picture to me for a downloadable PDF or whatever. I think that's a pretty easy ask in that particular piece. One, if they've sent you an email, perhaps then they might want to be on your newsletter list. That might be nice. Or you could be having a conversation with them. That's also nice. I love having conversations with people. All right. So whatever app that you are listening on right now, go ahead, open that up, leave me a review. Let me know what you think of this podcast episode, and let me know if I've been of any benefit to you. Whether or not I've helped you in your podcast journey, or whether or not I've helped you with your calls to action or your launch or any of that, I would love to know. This is like reviews, soup to nuts. And hopefully I have done it justice. And you now know more about podcast reviews, how to leave them, where to find them, and why you need them, right? So until next time, where your voice flows, your business grows. This is Kim Parkinson, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me today. If you're ready to deepen your visibility and grow your podcast in a way that feels aligned, come join my email list at kpcreativemedia.com/newsletter, where I share exclusive guidance, support, and next steps. And if this episode resonated, I'd be so honored if you left a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the most powerful ways to support the show and help other spiritual women discover it. Until next time, keep showing up and sharing your voice.